Hello, I am Dr. Francula Drankenstein. Blah. And this is the Francula Drankenstein Show. With Halloween almost upon us, and many little tasty children trying to come up with a good way of scaring friends and family to death. Your good friend Francula, thought that to help you, he will bring on his show expert monsters and people who are very good at scaring little girls, so that they can tell you all about their expertise. The first guest of tonight is the famous monsterman from England. With a terrifying appearance and powerful hind legs, it is no wonder that all the ladies run from Spring-Heeled Jack.
Panic on the streets of London. Panic on the streets of Birmingham.
So Jack, I cannot help but notice that your appearance is not terrifying.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm not in costume. I figured I'd try to look nice for this one. TV appearance. I mean, you have no idea how hard it is of scoring a date with a woman when the first thing they do when they see you is start to scream and run away. And by the way, viewers, I am looking, so if you're not bad looking, look me up.
Alright then, Jack. So how do you do it? How do you make with the scary?
Well, when I was growing up as a street urchin on the mean streets of Sussex,
All you need is smile.
and I was supporting myself with thieving and robbery, I noticed that people mainly tended to get really frightened when they got really startled first, and then was subjugated to some really frightening visuals or sounds or other scary stuff. So I thought I'd try startling my victims first, before I pulled my gun or my cutlery on them in an attempt to hopefully raise my robbing success rate. And wouldn't you know it, after only a fortnight, I managed to raise my success rate with a whopping 300%.
That is very interesting, Jack. How come you decided upon donning the get-up of the now legendary Spring-Heeled Jack?
You see, my only friend, Huckleberry Finn, had always praised my great jumping ability, telling me that I could jump way higher than him and that my jumping had always made him really startled. So I thought, how could I use this particular skill of mine to my advantage in a robbing situation? And eventually I came up with the idea that if I jump as my victims when I'm wearing a really frightening costume, then they'll get way too startled and scared to resist me when I'm trying to grab their valuables. So I put on a pair of sturdy black boots and dressed myself in a bat costume, because I always thought Batman to be really frightening. And I just started hitting the town at night.
But what about the glowing eyes that everyone says Spring-Heeled Jack possesses?
What glowing eyes?
Whatever. We have compiled some stock footage of Mr. Jack robbing and frightening people. So now, let's all watch this master horror at work. Looks like that worked out pretty well for you, Jack. By the way, I hope you don't mind me asking, but how did you become friends with fictional character, Mr. Huckleberry Finn? Would it not be very difficult to meet him? After all, he is only a character in a book, is he not?
Wait, what? Yes? Well, that's a bit strange. I suppose he might have just told me that he was the Huckleberry Finn, even though he wasn't. To be honest, I never really got to know him all that well. He was one of those sad young adults.
Lots and lots of smiley smiles.
That you're always hearing about on the telly these days. One of those adolescents who stays in all the time and writes poems about death and cuts themselves. I mean, even when we were hanging out, he would mostly just sit in some dank corner and rocking himself back and forth and muttering weird things under his breath. And a few years after I first met him, he started wearing this big black coat and top hat and began murdering prostitutes. So I thought it might be a good idea to try to distance myself from him after that, and well, I haven't really seen him since.
Fascinating stuff, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Applause! Applause for Jack, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We now have our first commercial break, and then I will be teaching you some fancy new cooking. Stay tuned.